Hello, folks. What's up, Jamie King? What's up, Flemish Bear? What up, Remix? Blessings from Northern Ireland. You always say that. I love that you say that. Every time I look forward to you saying blessings from Northern Ireland. How's lunch? Quick. Sometimes my company buys us lunch. We have someone who's leaving. So they're generous and they buy us things. So it's cool. Which is good because I had some really spicy Indian food packed for today's lunch, and I have a feeling the latter half of the afternoon could have been painful. Blessings from California. You know, you guys aren't fully commie yet. There's still a lot of land in California. It's kind of like New York, where the central condensed rat maze dictates the policy for the rest of the state, and people don't even realize how big New York is and how vast and it is. There's mountains and plains and flatlands, and it's pretty big compared to little Gomorrah. So people need hope, because we can't just you can't adequately battle the creeping dark sludge, the technocratic needle dick Bill Gates bullshit. You're never gonna stop it, so you can't win, but you also can't leave everywhere. There are people, I have friends in California who grew up there, and that's their land. There's an aspect of leaving that's smart, as Owen says, the kill zones. But there's also people who have lived there their whole life where they're just not going to leave. It's like those little old ladies who sold, tomatoes and cheese their whole life. And they're just like, I'm dying. I grew up here and I die here. I grew up here and I die in my home. And I respect those people. But in today's age, a lot of us are transients in a way. At least 1 or 2 to 5 moves in our lifetime. Which is actually its own problem, A lot of the problems we see with splintered, saturated, weak knitted communities is because people chase jobs. People chase their jobs and they go to state, and it's easy to move places, and I don't condemn moving because I moved a couple times, but there is a side effect to it if you are in your community, in it, all the people in the area. But it's kind of like this double-edged sword where you go and you plant your feet, and men want to plant their feet. That's in us, unless you're totally gay and you just want to plant your peen and things. But the ability to move around a lot has its advantages, and then it has its long-term disadvantages. Because inevitably what we want as men, as leaders, is to plant our boots 4 inches down into the ground, which is a lot of us are planning on doing. A lot of us are already doing. So it's kind of cool. But I totally get the people in those cities who are like, no, if I'm going to go through this shit, I'm going to go through it. If I have to be here to battle it, if we turn it around, I think it has to collapse before it turns around. But I don't cheer on death and destruction, a lot of you guys in Los Angeles, maybe even in New York City, are going to end up eating your little dogs, You think they're all cute and stuff, but you'll probably eat them. But, where's my mask? Ben Grizzy is the gayest guy here. Oh, I haven't seen Ben Grizzy. Hella gay. Yes, everybody, let's talk about Jesus. He is pretty cool. He's the coolest. He's smooth. Smooth dude. Read the comments, JimBob. Can you say some happy stuff? I just got bad news. I need some positivity. Love your art, man. Well, 11 News Noir. You know. Is it bad news? Is it over? No. It's not over. Squirrel is free. Everyone in California is moving to Texas. Yeah. And Joe Rogan is really the embodiment of what goes on in not just California, but any of these major lefty Democrat Sodom and Gomorrah cities, is that they annihilate it, and then they act all libertarian about it. They're like, yeah, just do what you want, man. Do as thou wilt, yo. No, it's totally fine if you're not hurting anybody. Just do whatever you want. And then the culture collapses because it has no integrity, has no moral integrity. There's no moral foundation. You reject everything, but you accept everything at the same time. Total relativism bullshit. And then you wonder why it unravels. And then you're like, oh, I don't know what happened. We got to move to Austin and then implement the same hedonistic bullshit policies and cultural norms, which Joe Rogan, if you're listening, you're going to Austin. It's already nearly as degenerate as California. You know? You're just moving to another whorehouse. So it doesn't matter. You're not escaping anything. You know why? Because you can't escape yourself, Joe Rogan. And anyone who lives that kind of existence just kind of passively watches society crumble and just like, it's okay, man. I sold like 5 jerk-off machines today, man. Did you? I heard a stat. It's like you don't fight against the cultural shit. You just fight against like the you stand up against the approved narratives, the approved, oh, the left is so bad. Oh, censorship is so bad. But you're not looking at the source, the moral degradation, And that's what happens. So he can't move away from himself. Oh, I'm leaving. It's like such bullshit. Oh, I'm going to leave California because this shit is bullshit. Guess what? You're right there. You're going to be right there in Austin, pushing the same nonsense. So that's the big joke about it, is that, if you're leaving, you go with yourself. So that goes for if you have a strong moral foundation or you don't. When you do have a strong moral foundation, the benefits is wherever you go, you add value. You're going to add value. But if you're a relativist, like Joe Rogan, then you're just going to bring more of that bullshit to where you're going. And then you're going to move again and be like, I'm going to Montana now, where the animals are, man. I want to live off the land. After you are the spearhead, cultural gatekeeper for all of this bullshit. It's like, I usually don't get so angry at midgets, but he gets on my nerve. It's only because he has some element of sway and power, and he influences men, young men, and so it's he represents something. It's not even him personally, even. It's deeper than that. He's like a punctuation of a shit worldview.
That's why he's happy to have Richard Dawkins on. They can talk about how nothing really means anything, and there's nothing really wrong with eating people.
They're all done though. That's the good news. It's not a big downer because the revival is back to land and back to God, whether you like it or not. If you're a centrist and you're kind of just like a natural law libertarian, man, it's all right, man. It's that's where it's going. So there's not many choices. You either go with the smart retard cities and you join the compliance alliance, that I call it, or you go and live a much a happier life, a freer life, but it takes a lot more work. You don't just order your life. You don't sit and order your life. You don't get arcade tickets to play your arcade life game. You actually have to sweat and bleed and be willing to shoot somebody in defense or whatever. Back to the land. Compliance alliance. Yeah, I thought of that term a while ago because I wanted to do a comic book of all the compliance, the whole compliance alliance machine, and how they're just like a group of super autistic, technocrat, expert, lab coats, professors. It's just like a whole group of gang, the intellectual dark web. They're all part of the compliance alliance. And they want you to join. You know how they, remember Uncle Sam? How great of a trick that was, where they made the poster and it's like, Uncle Sam wants you. And he had the hat and everything. Well, there's a new version of that. It's like the Compliance Alliance. And it's like, they want you. They want you not to join the war, not to fight a banker's war. They want you to join the alliance. The greater good. It's a new war. It's a war over your body and your mind and your spirit. It's not the kind of war where you get shipped off and you kill a bunch of people because you could imagine that they're going to rape your kids, several thousand miles away. That doesn't work anymore. That's going to die out too. And so the war gets more atomized as our lives get more atomized. So the war ends up existing right where we are. And that's the future of war. I mean, we're already there, but people will understand it. There's only a few people who understand. And I guess most of you can conceptualize that the war is now atomized, that it happens. It's an irregular warfare style. It's not the way you learn it in the black and white clips and all the infantry went and shot their freedom. It's all the voiceovers and crackled film. That's how we've been implanted with dealing with warfare. And I don't know whether that's purposeful propaganda or not, to make us not even understand when we're in a war. But maybe every war is different, and that. But this one, it's very hard to convince people they're in a war when they're still able to go get their bucket of Jimmy Dean sausages at the nearest food bank. It's basically a food bank. That's called Whole Foods, and it looks like a real store, but it's actually a government food bank. And they figured it out. They figured out how to use consumerism and marketing to create a super high scalable dependency. And it's all about logos, not logos. Logos. It's all about selling people a fake version of something, where in reality, when you look at it, it's not what you think it is. That's not Whole Foods. That's like communism food. It still costs money, but that private-public partnerships, they've got their tentacles deep. And it just doesn't, you don't realize it, because you're just like, well, as long as I wear a mask, then I can go shopping. So I'm not, oh, you think this is tyranny, JimBob? Oh my God. You think this is tyranny? Oh, you have to wear a mask for like 3 minutes while you get your apples. That's tyranny? No. You'll see tyranny when the dominated, monopolized supply chain breaks. Then you'll see tyranny. You know? And Owen Benjamin just did a great stream about how tyranny does not look the way Dennis Prager talks about it. Let me deep throat this cigar and talk about the dangers of Mao. It's like, you're a liar. You're either a liar or you're a retard. Or both. Because that is not what it looks like. You know, tyranny is not going to look like that. It's not going to look like the old pictures of the dude shooting the guy in the head with the uniforms on and the goose stepping Nazis and all of that cartoon shit. It doesn't look like that. No, tyranny is like your neighbors. You know, because the new paradigm, you have to understand that the enemy, we're actually by law, like in written language, we are enemy combatants. And that happened George Bush Sr. That happened before a lot of us were even born. And we're actually listed as enemy combatants. We're all a threat to national security at any given moment. All they have to do is write up a thing and have Congress approve that that there's a national security issue. And so now that they've pulled the ultimate trick, you know, getting that lady to put her little mask on, that means she's a threat to me, and everyone else is a threat to her. We're all enemy combatants. And it really is an evil genius level scam. It's not about making you wear a mask. That's just foreplay. That's just priming. Amazon Prime. They're priming you. That's just foreplay. That's just like dress up. It's just like a ritual. It's not about the masks. It's about what's available if you can get everybody to fear each other. And the masks is an expression and a way to measure how much people are in fear and fearing each other. And it's a really good visual. You know, it's a great visual to understand what you're looking at. You know, it's like a scoreboard. You know, you need it in the physical. You need to know what you're dealing with in reality. Boots on the ground, flesh and blood. What does it look like? You know, can you measure it? And you can. And you're measuring, and that's why this is all like a kind of a primer test. This is like, okay, let's do a fake pandemic. Let's see how many people can go for it. And you're like, JimBob, you think the whole world can do a fake pandemic? Yes, they can, actually. You know, the more connected we are, the more reliant we are on massive corporate supplies and our phones. Like, we're seeing the world mostly through our phones for most people. And so when you get 150 plus nations on board with the UN agenda, and then you read some of these documents that are nearly 10 plus years old about using pandemics to implement these new, you know, resource-based economies where they're run by symposiums and not by private, you know, individuals who have their own farms and whatnot. They have to test this stuff. They have to figure out how to creep it. It's like a slow boiling pot. They can't just do it. And they can't just do it with force. They have to use you as the soldier. And they used to use crisis actors. You know, they don't need crisis actors. You know, Harrison Hanks. I'm sorry, you do a great job, Harrison Hanks, but you're no longer needed. Why? Because you don't need to hire crisis actors if the people themselves will act out the background work. The background work is the people in the background outside wearing a mask. What if they give me a ticket though? I don't want a ticket. I don't want a ticket. So the crisis actors are us. We're the crisis actors. It works. Sell a tragedy, sell a trauma, and then let the people respond. And then they attack each other. And that's what you see. You don't see some cop, pulling someone over. You might see one or two of those in the news, like some cop giving someone a ticket for their mask. It's people. It's everybody ratting on each. Everybody just turned into George Soros. Just ratting, tattletaling on each other. And all they're saying is, how dare you not be in fear like I am in fear? You need to be in fear because I'm in fear. You're not getting away with this. It's not about them feeling sick or taking care of their health. You know what I mean? This lady is not afraid I'm going to infect her with something that's going to kill her. Look at her. It's not... Forget fat shaming. Look at her. It's not about that. It's not about being afraid of death. It's about people refusing to own up to their own experience and their own fear. Everyone else must suffer because I am afraid. And they're just selling fear. It's just a fear. It's just straight up fear markets. And that's why it's moral. That's why it's a demoralization. That's why it's a spiritual battle. It's not a pragmatic battle. It's not a economic,
like, I think you should protect yourself. My wife's a doctor. You should definitely wear masks and comply until this is, just take it easy and see if you can stay afloat. If you're a private company, this is the time to be agile and then work your way through it. It's all this like fake lower frequency paradigms. It's not about that. Because if you fear man and his stories and his trauma he's selling to you, it doesn't matter if the economics work out, because you already sold your spirit and soul to the material world, and you will always be dominated by it. And the thing is, the more you buy that worldview, the more you fall for it. It's exponential. Because every time you invest in the fear in the material, and you're led by men and led by fear and material, the more you're investing in that, just like anything else you invest in. The more you invest, the more likely you'll invest in the next time. The more you defend a lie, the more likely you won't even be able to discern a lie in the future, because you invested in it. And so that's the real economy going on. And that's always been going on since the Apple. It never goes away. You can't win it. You can't beat it either. That's what people hate hearing me say. They're like, Jim Bob, you're saying all the stuff that's wrong, but give me a solution. No, there's no solution, because it's spiritual. It's immaterial. You can go toward the good. You can produce good in the world. You can go get land. You can help other people. You can avoid the like Owen says, the kill zones. You can fight the battle, but don't pretend that there's some outcome near. If Trump gets another 4 years, that's where all your pain and your suffering comes from. Because it's, you can't be like, I'm going to fight the materialists and let me just set up a measure for when I win. That's just materialism battling materialism. And I know a lot of people who don't fully grasp that concept. It's hard because you want the solution. You want the bullet points of what to do. How do we do it? How do we navigate? But living
toward a moral life, a good life. It's not just simply a set of rules, like it's not a bullet points, you know? It's not straight up bullet points. Yes, it could be simplified. If you follow the 10 Commandments, you will be for the good. You will be embodying good. But again, that doesn't mean that that's going to show up materially as evidence. Because you can follow moral laws and be living in absolute agony and absolute shit. And that's sometimes hard for people to understand. Is that you don't get to measure it by how well you're doing in the material world. You don't get to measure it that way.
But JimBob. Jimmy Bob.
Anyway, sorry, I went out. I'm not reading any comments. Let me see some comments. Greta Thunberg. We don't need to talk about Greta. She's just an abused little kid. Back to land, back to God, which God and why, and then how without the downfall of dogma. Well, dogma is, we're humans, so I don't even know if we can really escape dogma. But the most logical, coherent God is God of the Bible. Multiple gods doesn't make sense. Other gods that don't have an embodiment of man, it doesn't make sense. An elephant with 6 arms waving around doing like yoga poses doesn't make sense. Looking to a luminary or a bunch of planets to tell you how to be doesn't make sense. So, the logical one, logos, logic. Christianity is the most coherent. Yeah, it is. Both testaments? Well, the testaments are accumulative. You don't it's not a binary. It's the greatest story ever told that's still going on. That lady's perfect representation of Wall-E. Yeah, Wall-E is a real future. I mean, to some extent, we've arrived at that. It's just that we have a little bit more movement still. Driving, that'll be gone. We'll just be transported. Basically, cars will be... The future of transportation will be combining shopping and transportation at the same time. Basically, all behavior will all combine until you are just one dot in the middle of perpetual consumption. That means perpetual consumption physically, mentally, spiritually, content, food, where every movement, I mean, this might not be in our lifetime, but it's definitely the logical end of utilitarianism, Sam Harris-ism, Jordan Petersonism. The logical follow is that atomization and the basically it's like everything becomes a conglomerate and is to serve your direct appetite and needs. And so the cars will become just larger size of those, those little scooters in Walmart for the 600-pound people. So just imagine that, but just bigger. And then you're not driving because it's automated. But anywhere you go, you can order anything, and it just feeds your appetite constantly. And everywhere you look, it feeds your brain and what you want to see customized. You know, it's not a black pill. It's just the future. It feeds your brain and what you want to see customized. You know, it's not a black pill. It's just the future. So this just happened. I've never had that actually happen. It interrupted everything, and said my phone needs to cool down. My conversation needs to calm down. So that happened. I was looking for land. Look at how beautiful that is. That's in Minnesota. It's balls freezing there. But that giant barn, it's got a 128-foot well and 8.5 acres, and that's $100,000. With all of that massive farming land right there. I mean, that's a lot of work, right? But that's out there. My home button stopped working. I need to cool down, bro. I know, yeah. They're telling me. They're telling me. Am I superstitious in any way? No. Superstition is just your own personal replacement for absolute truth. You know, you're just trying to dictate, like, make up rules, make up some sort of pattern that you can then become the dictator. Superstition, I believe, is a symptom of narcissism. You know, because you're the one making up the rules. Are ghosts real? I don't know. I believe in spirits, so that might be ghosts. So, and I believe in demons. But ghosts is a little bit... Ghosts is more likely a psyop that is created by the entertainment industry and, like, to diminish the likeliness or our willingness to conceive of angels and demons, and keep us materially based. So they make a spoof of it, right? And then they keep spoofing it, and then they do Ghostbusters, and then they just keep doing all these dumb shows and making people look ridiculous by searching for ghosts with their little, you know, meters and shit. And then they just, you know, it's the same way they use Alex Jones to, like, make conspiracy theorists look like absurd WWE characters, you know. We're like, oh, the Undertaker
call me out. Joe, the Undertaker called me out on one of my things. I challenge the Undertaker to a one-on-one.
And you're like, what? Like, when is he going to rip his shirt off? Oh, yeah, he did that too. You know, the only thing missing is that he's in a ring. So, yeah, I think a lot of entertainment is used to diminish the reality of supernaturalism at the religious, biblical level. And they do a pretty good job. That barn is freaking amazing. Yeah, it's just so, you know, I'm nowhere near the reality of running and operating a farm, like at that level, like that many crops and shit. But my dream is to take a barn like that, and this is tall, that's a big barn, and to just turn it into like these like multi-layered things, you know, where there's like a massive guest room space with its own kitchen and like the back loft area, or you put a deck on the back of it, right, or all around it, you know, like a U around it, around the whole thing. There's so much you can do to these old things, and the trade-off is you have to leave Babylon, you have to leave Whole Foods and stuff, you know. So it's available out there, and it's totally doable. You know, people get loans for like, you know, $500,000 to get McMansions that are literally back to back with other McMansions right next to it, and you could see into each other's windows. You could spend half of that money, buy land like this, and spend another $100,000, to just redo what you have. Yes, I have children. I have 2 children. About Idaho, I looked at Idaho. I looked at Idaho Springs. Definitely affordable. My thing is, I have a day job, and I don't know that I can fully do a move without securing another similar day job as a master jeweler. And so that's one constraint, but it doesn't mean it's not possible. It just takes, like, you put yourself in that position, and it's almost like you have choice. You always have choice. But when I say you have no choice, it's almost like you just got to do it. You just do it, right? Moving to Moscow. Nice. Fort Collins. I don't know what that's a college town, so it's already going to be next to debauchery and degeneracy. So, do you sell jewelry? No, I make jewelry and I do custom work, but I'm very picky about what I make and who I make it for. Do I believe telekinesis is real? I don't know. Is that where you move shit with your brain? I have no reason to believe that's real. I mean, it would be cool to see it happening, but I've seen a lot of crazy magic. I used to go to the Magic Castle, and knowing something is a trick and still being somewhat invested in it not being a trick is a weird trick. Where people can move shit around and you don't see the thing, you don't see the string, you know what I mean? You're just like, whoa. But it's not very interesting to me. Will the abolishment of two-party system create unification? No, there's always going to be a split. Why? Because the split comes from a worldview. It comes from good and evil. It comes from the rejection of God and the praise of the creation, the praise of man, the worship of technology. That dichotomy is always going to be there regardless of whatever team jerseys you put out. So it's because it's spiritual, because it's always about morality. Even atheists, it's all about morality. Scientism. all about morality. We ought to pursue the truth and what we know and knowledge and progress. It's all still an ought claim. It requires a worldview that's beyond the material. And so, no, the abolishment of any two-party system. The two-party system is just like a useful front for how people already operate. It's the same thing with, like, if we abolish the government, no, there's no abolishing government. You destroy the government is just men who assume authority, who just battle over that void, that, battle over that vacuum of power. So, none of it goes away. The fallen state of man doesn't go away. The biggest lie you can tell yourself is, if we just change the things around, if we just change the Legos around and change the names of things, then our fallen state and our behavior will just change, because, we just changed what it looked like. Let's just change the words. Let's change the meaning of words, and we can finally reach enlightenment. Nope. Foolishness. Hegelian, yeah. How to be funny and still preach the importance of the gospel. I don't know. Some people aren't funny, and if they're not funny, they shouldn't try to be funny. I mean, the thing about the connection between, say, the gospel, the truth, and humor is that it's true. Like, humor's never good unless the premise is true. That's what people are laughing at. They're laughing at, one, the premise being true. They understand it to be true, and then you can deliver the punchline, which is just the relief valve, the release valve for what you've just put upon them. You can do heavy truths and then release the valve, or you can do silly observational truths, which is more hacky, but still release. And then shitty comedians. The reason the comedy has fallen is because comedians have been taken over by relativism, and you cannot maintain good comedy and good humor without maintaining truth. Therefore, relativists and the entire late night show cast and Trevor Noah and all these retards, the reason they're not funny is because they're relativists and they're moralists at the same time. So you look at them and you go, you're lying. You're not consistent. You don't have any conviction. You can't even sell me on something you truly believe, because you're willing to change it on the go. And you're willing to change your beliefs so you don't get ridiculed and kicked out of the club. So that's why comedians, especially Hollywood, have abandoned truth. That's the whole point of comedy, to cut people with the knife of what truth is, so that they can unite and laugh at each other and realize that they're all fallen and they're all human. But fortunately, Trevor Noah and all of those hedonistic, alcoholic, drug-induced degenerates, that is the Hollywood mainstream comedy family, they just shit everywhere. They took the ship and they just were like, well, know where we're going. As long as we can have sex on the ship and drink and puke off the balcony, I don't care where it's going. They just don't take responsibility. But it's not a bad thing, because the truth, there's always an opportunity, But if you're not funny, don't try that, Don't try that. I love messing with woke comedians. Yeah, they're just so stupid. Like, they'll take an opportunity that is perfect for a joke, and then instead they'll fight some sort of virtue battle. Like, who is that redheaded douchebag? I forgot his name, but he got called out. He was like talking about, because he's Jewish, and he's talking about Jews, and then he asked the crowd something, and a guy was like, you guys run Hollywood. And he got so offended, and instead of being like, Yeah, that's right, because we're awesome. You know, or like, whatever. You could say a million things in that situation. He was like, how dare you, sir? I will not tolerate anti-Semitism. He's like, anti-Semitism? I just said you guys run Hollywood. How is that anti-Semitic? If anything, it's like celebratory. Why would you take that as an offense? That's weird. That's like saying, like, blacks dominate basketball and then being like, you racist white supremacist. Like, what? What are you talking about? It's like Russians dominate gymnastics. There isn't even a term for anti-Russian. Anywho, I gotta get back. I don't know, I want to try to save this, but that interruption because my heat wave or whatever happened, if it doesn't save the full thing, I probably won't upload the rest of it because it's just... Anyway, 96 people here. If you didn't go over to DLive, I will be doing these impromptu lunch lives, but I'm going to be moving further into DLive. So get it on your phone, find me, MadebyJimBob. Go over there. It's a really easy app to download and navigate, and it's really fun. And it's going to allow me to do longer streams, do more impressions, talk about things, show things on my screen more videos, share animations I'm doing with you guys. And I'm going to make that more of a primary live streaming. So again, go over to DLive. It's fun. It's a fun chat. And there's just a lot more I can do over there. So I'll be able to, I don't know, just have more fun. Where I'm not so like just trapped in a car waiting for my phone to shut down. All right. Peace.